Whew. Okay.
Right.
Oh, yep, there it is. Oh man. Tweet there.
Yeah, where are the tweets at?
I got it. Boom. Okay, those two are done. And then Facebook. You never post stuff on Facebook, right? Like you have it, but you don't actually use it, right? You used to use it
Yeah,
back
I
in.
try actively to stay off of it.
Somebody like ran into my dad the other day, the other day, like just asked him about like work stuff that I was doing because they like work or whatever, and I was like, they asked about like me posting stuff on Facebook. I don't even
Hmm.
post enough on like my regular work Twitter. I don't know. Doesn't it feel weird like posting work stuff on Facebook now?
Yeah, but you like have to do it. Like for some reason,
Mm,
everything goes through Facebook. But although like everyone you talk to swears they don't use it,
yeah, yeah. I
it's
mean,
weird. So I don't know.
I definitely go on it like way more than I should. I don't know why. But like um 'cause a lot of stuff I see is like ads and then like random videos that pop up. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen. Yeah, the only thing that only ever is worthwhile is like some juicy gossip in my town resident page.
Mm,
Someone upset about a dump truck not getting picked up or something
hmm,
like that, or some stupid ticket. It's always good small town drama there.
huh. I
But
should
yeah,
see if
it's on Facebook. Only real reason why I'm keeping it is for Facebook Marketplace. Like I just upgraded my phone and my watch and my iPad, so I'm going to be flipping all of that and getting rid of my old iMac. See if I can package them together.
nice.
If you were going to redo your home office, but you wanted to do it on the cheap. So you go to Facebook Marketplace and you saw an iMac, an iPad, an Apple Watch, and a TV, all kind of bundled together for you. Maybe even throw in a Logitech camera.
Hmm.
How much would you pay for that? 500, 600,
I would.
700?
I think that. Okay, hold. It was a Mac, and it was. Did you say a phone too, or just a?
No, no, iPad.
Okay. So Mac, iPad. I think I need to see like the years and stuff like that. But those are obviously the two biggest ones. Macs are usually like 1,000 plus new. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Um,
these are. I mean, they're on the older side.
500. I think is a steal. I mean,
For a 32-inch TV and an Apple Watch.
a 32-inch TV and an Apple Watch. Yeah, I mean, I think if I don't know if bundling them together is gonna get you what I don't know. Like I think $700. Like yeah, that's definitely a fair price. You might be able to do like realistically, it's probably worth more. But
I wanted to price it to sell though.
that's what I okay yeah. Like I
And
mean
like I feel like we were talking about this with Goo, like you get that 4 digits, and suddenly I feel like a lot of people are just like already priced out or like turned off. They won't even look at it.
100%, and that's where I was kind of looking at like maybe you're not better off bundling it, but if you just want to get rid of it all, I mean, maybe start at 7 because then if 5 is the bottom line price that you're willing to take, then
Yeah,
people
yeah,
will feel
yeah.
like they got a deal. So go for what you want and then work your way down. Maybe
Okay, I
maybe
like
maybe
that.
even start higher than 7 in that case. And then because then if you get to 7, if that's a number you want right now, then start at maybe I don't know, 859, and then it's like, oh, by the time you get to 7,
And work
when
your way down.
yeah, or you get somebody who wants it for 9. Because
Oh, there we go. And you mark it up to mark it down. So then you show the discounts. Hey, a month ago this was $900. Now it's
yeah,
700.
yeah. And
Hey, there we
what
go.
what year are we talking for your computer?
Um,
Roughly?
I have to double check. I'm gonna update it with all the like the newest operating system and stuff anyway. So
Okay.
that's kind of like my plan. But
What about the iPad?
the iPad is like a fifth or sixth generation, but still in great condition. No cracks or anything. The watch is a third generation, and it's a third 32-inch TV.
Then yeah, I mean the TV yeah. Yeah, then I think starting out at 9 is pretty fair. I don't think you'll get it, but if you can get it down to 7 and then get it at that price, and you're good. And then it's gonna make 500 look even that more appealing when you get there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll even throw in a Logitech little camera there too.
There you go.
We're talking. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well, we got this all settled here.
look at that.
Yeah, all set. All right,
Sitting down.
let's get rocking and rolling here. What do you say?
I am ready for this one.
Okay, yeah. Year in review.
Yeah,
Spectacular
a fun one.
2022. All right, we'll get started here in three, two, one. Welcome back to another episode of the Change My Mind podcast. I'm Wesley Sykes, and through the other side of the ether is the odd long to my song. It's Mr. Nicholas J. Esquire, song singer for hire. There we
I'll
go.
take
Just made
that.
that one up on the spot.
Song
Yeah.
song singer. God, you just gotta reopen the wound every month or
I
so.
didn't think of it, but you are. I mean, we're all song singers in a way.
Yeah, sure. Some of us are better than others. Some of us can rap too, apparently. You, not me.
Who? No, I can't. I can't rap. No,
Yeah, well, you
I
definitely
can.
rap.
I can sing along to rap lyrics.
You know what? We had a great time with our DSG dinner. I think that not doing karaoke is something we should consider down the line. I don't know.
Oh, if
I
we
don't know who
go,
will
we
do
get
it.
an earlier reservation next time, and then we'll
Yeah,
go a little deeper into the city. I like that.
because
That sounds
I would do it. You would do it. I think Billy and Doc would do it. I don't know about Goo or Mac though. They might be like too cool to do something like that. Rossi would do it.
yes. Well, you've kind of tiptoed into my intro question here. And my question for you is, what type of person orders salmon at a steakhouse?
A psycho? Some would say. I guess. Yeah, look, I loved the food. I loved the salmon. You can say whatever you want, but like I told you
It
guys,
was delicious.
it was yeah, your food looked outstanding. I want to
Mm,
comment on that too.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I went to a steakhouse 2 days before, and I had consumed a lot of red meat between that dinner and our DSG dinner from other stuff.
So, is there a downside to eating too much red meat?
I thought you weren't. I thought so. I thought that was a thing. I thought that, like, you don't want to go like too crazy on red meat. Not like you gotta like skimp on it, but
Yeah,
like,
I thought it was for like older people though. I thought that was like an older person thing.
well, I mean, I legitimately had okay from the dinner on that Wednesday. I had a steak there. I had a burger the next day. I had steak. Actually, I had steak at
All right, so
lunch,
you were just out red meated out.
and then
That
I
I
had
can get.
and then I had red meat, and then I would have had red meat. That would have been the fourth meal of out of like five that I had red meat if I didn't get the salmon.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Fair
I didn't
enough
want to do
there. Yeah.
chicken. I felt like doing chicken at a steakhouse is more ridiculous than the salmon.
Well, yeah,
I
you
don't-
would get. Yeah, I feel like seafood is probably the right play if you're not going to be doing a steak. Yeah,
All
maybe a
right.
pork chop or something like that. But again, that's heavy.
Who you
The
calling
same
pork
realm
chop
there.
meatloaf? Meatloaf? What
There
the
we
hell?
go.
What the fuck?
But yeah, so that was a fun dinner. So for the listeners at home there, so it was myself, Nick, Doc, Mac, Goo, and Billy D. So no, not Mac. So it was
Yeah,
five of us there. Mac was supposed to go, but he was canceled in the 11th hour, probably living up to what everyone expected that he was going to do.
play Call of Duty. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like Mac would be the guy who would do that of the
Mm.
group.
But thank you. You're the guy who puts these things together every time. So thank you for
Well,
having.
I figured it
patience
was going to
doing
be my last hurrah as, maybe one of the last few times I could be able to get out and up to the city. So
Oh.
get it in there while we can. We had to do an end of the year type of thing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what was funny is not only did our waiter look like Durs from Workaholics, very nice waiter. Went to Abe and Louie's in Boston, great stuff by the way.
Yep.
But some of the things like Billy, sometimes I felt like Billy has no filter.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's like when he gets out. I don't know if he was a little lubed up and just didn't care, or for. But I was saying this to my wife earlier today, and it was just kind of making me laugh. It was like when we were getting dessert,
Amazing.
and the waiter drops off all the desserts. He comes back. He's like, "Do you want to order anything for dessert?" And he just kind of bluntly like says it. Like I don't think he meant anything bad by it, but he's just like, "No, nothing really looks good. We'll just take the
Yeah.
check."
Yeah. It was
He just kind of,
amazing.
no, nothing looks good. And I'm just, what?
Yeah.
No, maybe just a no, thank you.
Yeah.
But Billy just, no, nothing really looks good here. That just, I love
I
that.
I
That's Billy.
yeah, like when he said it, it just kind of it didn't hit me. I don't know why. Just but we were just. I was so like I'm not getting dessert at this point because obviously it's not a cheap place. I'm gonna get dessert. It's like I'll just fucking stop at a McDonald's or like an ice cream place like on the way
I
home.
agree with him for the record.
Yeah, with Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look at the menu, so I trust the two of you. If two of you didn't like anything, and I think Joe was ready to order a thing, but Billy started off hot, so Like, definitely would
Yeah,
take Joe
I think
off
there
it.
was a chocolate cake and ice cream, which you can't go wrong with, right? That's
Sure.
something there. But there was a creme brulee, which I feel like is a staple at all steakhouses. That's okay, but you can't really share that amongst four other guys. That's kind of a tougher share.
Mm.
Um, so the move was probably the chocolate cake, but Billy was right in his assessment. It was just the delivery
Yeah.
that kind of was like caught my ear. And as a former waiter, like I think that's
Oh,
why it kind of struck there. I was like, oh, that's
so
you didn't
so
have
this
to
is
say that.
this is I should have this is one of those episodes where I should have had the intro question. Wes,
Mm,
if you were the waiter and you're working, let's say, at a really nice steakhouse, and you hand a menu to a guy, and or you come back to check in on him on his on and let's just say it's the desserts. Do you want anything? And he says, "Nah, I didn't see anything that I liked on the menu." How do you respond to that? How do you handle that situation?
well, yeah, and I think it was one step further. I think he had said, "There's nothing good on the menu." I don't think he said there's nothing I like. I think it was nothing is good or
I
something
think
like that.
I think it was I didn't because I wasn't gonna get into the nitpicks, but now that we are, I think it was I didn't see anything good on the menu or
Yeah,
anything good
yeah,
on the
yeah.
menu.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. The delivery was off putting there. No, so I think the waiter who was great. I think he played it perfectly the whole night. Very standoffish. Came
Mhm,
over very nonchalant, relaxed. Yeah, you
mhm,
want this? Sure. You want another drink? Yeah, no problem. Very cool.
mhm,
Cool guy.
mhm.
He played the cool guy role.
Did a good
That's
job.
what you got to do. You don't say anything there. You just let it go because if you react, then you're the sucker.
Yeah.
You're the butt of the joke for the rest of the night amongst the group. You let it go. Maybe you share it with the bartender or a couple other wait
Yes.
staffs. Like, hey, this is kind of a funny little anecdote here. Get a load of this.
I
But
would
he
yeah.
played it perfectly.
I agree with you. Someone who didn't work in the food industry, but I will say I would have. You say you maybe share it with a couple people. I'd share it with everybody at the restaurant, and then I'd share it with all my friends because, like,
Yeah, it's funny.
when you think about it, it's like this is kind of a ridiculous response. Just say, "Nah, I'm all set." Like, "No, we're good."
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah,
that
no,
simple.
thank you.
Yeah.
Right. But he
So
had to share his opinion. Nope, nothing looks good to me.
yes, well, you know what? I blame in the end. I blame Rossi because they're not doing enough PCPs for Billy to get his opinion out there.
Oh, that's true. Not enough hot takes there. Well, it is a new year, Nick, so maybe
Mm.
there'll be new episodes of PCP to come here. But did you have any New Year's resolutions? Anything that you wanted to share with the group? Because we've been off, I don't know, as a crow flies for about 2 weeks now.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? You've asked me that. So what? We've have we now celebrated 3 New Years as a show? Is this what?
You're not a resolution guy.
I'm generally not a resolution guy, but I do have one this year, and it is to be more organized in general. I
Oh,
feel
okay.
I don't think I'm an unorganized person. I just think that between the two podcasts, and then work, and then just other, obviously got the wedding that we're planning and other stuff.
Sure,
I
yeah.
feel like a lot of balls are being juggled right now on my end, where yes, I've been organized enough with those things going on, but I could do a better job. So I'm working towards improving in that regard.
So what are you doing? Getting a shared calendar? What's the steps there?
Well, we have a shared calendar, and I put stuff in there, but like I don't
I
actually.
think that might have been. I think you gave me that idea actually
Yeah,
when you guys came over. Yeah.
yeah. So like it's great, but I put stuff in there, but I seldom actually look at it other than when I'm inputting stuff.
Mm,
So
mhm, mhm.
trying to be aware of that, trying to put that in there, trying to keep a better log in general, like maybe have my own personal calendar in my work area, to have in front of me what's going on throughout the course of the week, have a better feel of things, and then like look, I mean, I like my work area, but like I also sometimes let comics stack to the left of me off screen that people can't see. Try and keep in that space a little bit cleaner. I have a file cabinet where I keep, paperwork stuff, like
Mhm, mhm.
personal shit. I, I haven't since I moved. I haven't done a great job handling that and keeping that like as up to date as it needs to be. So improving on those kind of areas, so that way it's just less clutter, and it's going to make me like the place feel better, and then just when stuff pops up, it's going to feel less like hopefully less calamitous, I guess.
Yeah, so I one of my I guess you could say little journalism mentors there when we were at the Standard Times, Kirk Brown. You're
Oh, yep.
familiar?
Yep.
Awesome guy, but he
Very
had
nice guy.
the clutteriest. most clutter-filled desk there was. It was horrible, stacked up, falling over into my cubicle, right? So we shared a dividing wall there, but very nice guy, and he was the guy who would always be like, cluttered, cluttered desk, cluttered mind, empty desk, empty mind, right? So he's like,
Mm.
if it's a catchy phrase, so I'm gonna go and run with it. I happen to think it's the exact opposite. I think if
I
you have a cluttered desk, you have a cluttered mind, you're not getting shit done. Clean desk, you're ready to attack the task at hand, ready to go. Much like making your bed, that sort of thing.
I agree with you 100%. Although making my bed is not. I won't go that far. No, but like
Oh, really?
no, no, I'm kidding. But I agree with you. Like that. Like that is like you can create anxiety where there's no reason for anxiety whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I will say, for like some people had like good desk areas at the standard times, but have the most cluttered desk at the standard times when Wes and I worked there, that's saying something.
Yeah, that was pretty. I'm pretty sure. Oh, Ed. Ed had a pretty
Yep.
cluttered desk. Buddy Thomas, of course, but he just has
Yep.
years and years of stats, so that's
Yep.
kind of justified there.
Yep.
But yeah, I think. Thank you for asking me. Of course, I just want to
I
be a
was
father this year.
wait. Wes, do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Thank you for asking. I'm just hoping to be a father this year. Be an effective one. And like knock on wood, like not break my baby. Like that. That's kind of the big one there. But I'm also just getting back on the workout grind. I'm not going
Mm,
to say I want to get back in shape. I think I've been in shape, but I think I want
cool.
to take my diet a little bit more seriously. And I want
Okay.
to gain some weight, focus a little bit more, get some clean weight, not some dirty bulking going on, but some clean bulking.
Mm,
Got my own personal concoction of pre-workout that I'm putting together right now.
hmm
Care to
So
hear it?
I would. I was just before you. No. Go ahead. Tell me first. I have a question after.
Well, because I'm off the pre-workout because I don't want the caffeine. I don't want all the extra shit in there. So now I just got beta alanine. So I take one scoop of that pure, uncut, raw beta alanine.
Wow.
8 ounces of water. Chug it. I got my 7 capsules of creatine monohydrate that I take before the workout. So between those two things, get a huge pump going. Then going back on my supplementation with the multivitamins, vitamin D, magnesium, fish oil. So just some of the basic stuff there. But getting
So
back into my nutritional stuff.
what does alpha alanine not sit well with you? Is that an issue?
Oh, look at
I couldn't
you,
help it. I
Nick.
couldn't help it.
Look at you.
I couldn't help it.
No, I'm not fun enough. I got to get through the beta first.
But in all seriousness, so when you said that about your workout, I'm thinking hey, you still do all this stuff unless the holidays got to you. But I mean, like that happens to all of us. So you're basically saying you are trying to enhance what you intake during your workout routine, like workout time, and then in general try and clean up your eating.
Yes, yeah, and
Okay.
I think so. We're getting a an elliptical and a treadmill down in the basement. I think that's going to be happening in the pretty near future. So,
Don't
I'm
fuck with the
hoping.
bar space. You've worked your ass
Would
off on that.
No, 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 it's not in the finished side, in the unfinished side. So it's going
Okay.
to be like a Rocky type gym setting there, where you're just staring into poured
Nice.
concrete for the duration of your run. But
Okay.
I'm hoping until the baby comes. So she's in her last trimester. She's 6 months. So I got 3 months left here to pull 2 a days. In the morning, do a little on the elliptical, maybe run a little bit in the basement,
Mm-hmm.
finish through some strength training at the gym, get
Mm-hmm.
a nice huge pump on that I can melt away in the early stages of dadhood, and then chisel
Nice.
back when I'm ready to get back to like a normal sleep schedule a little bit.
Nice. That sounds like a outstanding plan. By the way, when it comes to you being a parent, as someone who's not even remotely close to being a parent, the
Mhm.
only thing I want to say is every time I think about the idea of being a dad, I always try to eventually remind myself that there are far dumber people who have gotten through
Yes.
the phase of not breaking your child. So
Hmm.
I think you are more than okay.
No, and I think now that I'm getting into that 3 month stage, I'm like, now it's all starting to get real. Like
Yeah, of
everything.
course.
I was like Mr. Cool. I was like the
Mm,
waiter a little bit. Everything's fine. How hard can it be? Because like it wasn't real. And now
mm,
as we're getting closer to it, the whole baby room's pretty much done.
Mm.
I moved out of my office where the office is now the nursery. I'm in the guest room now, so all this crazy stuff. Yeah, so now that
Very
like
nice.
everything is coming together with the clothes and like the wallpaper and the crib and everything else with like the baby registry. Like, all right now. I'm like
Wow.
reading the warning signs on all like the mattresses, and it's everything what not to do to avoid SIDS. Just as I don't want to read any of this.
It's Sid's the thing about, like, laying on the
Uh,
stomach thing?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
sudden infant death syndrome. I think that's what it stands
Yeah.
for. And I'm not sure if there's like any real reason for it. I think there's like a multitude of things that can happen.
Yeah, that
Shaking or face down, like you said, or I don't know. It's
that's
yeah,
that's the one
scary
thing
stuff.
that's the one thing because it's like, how do you even control that? But we don't need to get into that because I don't we don't need to get
Yeah.
in your head on
So
that
that's
one.
that's a, yeah, that's a down yeah, that's a scary route to start off 2023 with. So all
Yes.
positivity, being a good dad, that's the goal here. But trending now,
Ah,
because we're in the new year. We got some Marvel rumors. It's been a little bit of while since we've had some news to share with us. So I'm going to run this through here. You tell me
mm.
what piques your interest, Nick. This is coming from the Twitter sleuth, My Time to Shine. Hello. Okay.
Oh,
A
yeah.
little. I'm still like have a little bit of like a respiratory thing. I feel like I'm breathing heavy as I talk. I'm
Oh,
like getting out of breath as I talk to you.
excuse me.
But the
Not ideal.
celestial Tiamat, remember him?
Mm,
The frozen celestial that's sticking out of the Earth's surface.
yep.
He's rumored to be mined for adamantium in Captain America: New World Order and the Thunderbolts. That's right, you heard me right. Adamantium. While it's also going to be the island home of mutants, like Genosha was in the comics. So again, rumored, not confirmed. These are I think this was My Time to Shine. Hello, and then again, Daniel RPK, Daniel Rickman on Twitter.
Okay,
The
I don't
other one, oh, go ahead.
nope. No, I well, but My Time to Shine is, pretty like, we don't know who that is, not affiliated with any website
Total,
necessarily, but
total anon. Yeah,
they're like with the Reddit PF profile
Rickman.
picture.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
yeah, but that account is seems to be as very reputable as much as an anonymous source can be.
Yeah, they have some pretty big hits.
Yeah,
No one ever really keeps track of their losses, so I'm not really sure,
true.
what the success rate is, but they have hit on a couple of good things there. So
I
also,
guess Casey doesn't shit on them, so I assume like Casey trusts their sourcing a little bit, so or he
yeah,
hears similar things, and we know Casey
well,
comes up with good stuff for us.
not he's not shitting on them yet. I mean, just maybe give it some time.
That's true. That's true. That's
It's all just a matter of time before you end up on Casey's shit list, you know.
Don't say that because then that means that we have an expiration
Yeah,
date too.
clock's ticking,
Oh,
Nick.
fuck.
Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Now, apparently, there's been a whole bunch of scuttlebutt over the years on the internet of having these two kind of come together for some reason, kind of like the OGs,
Yeah.
and two popular characters here, to fight together in allegedly in Secret War. So, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. They're going to have some on-screen type of cool thing, like almost like what I would imagine to be like a Bucky Barnes, Rocket Raccoon type of team up, or Iron Man and Pepper Potts, an Endgame, and like those type of cool things. So that seems kind of cool to me.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I would like to look. I think most people I'm not gonna speak for everybody else. I would like to like these two agreed. Like they're on in terms of the character themselves. They're obviously on the same playing field. These are the two historically the two most popular Marvel characters. Obviously, other people have risen through the ranks since the MCU began.
Mhm.
But for what I think X-Men and how that helped move the genre forward, and then what Tobey Maguire Spider-Man did for moving the genre forward. When you look at it from that lens, I think it'd be really cool if we could see Wesley Snipes' Blade thrown in the mix too.
Oh,
But
okay.
at the same time, they're not he like that character as much as he did a huge thing for the genre. Blade is not nearly on the same level as Spider-Man and Wolverine, so
Yes.
I highly doubt that would ever happen.
Well, I don't know. The rumor is they want to get everyone from all the legacy movies.
That'd be
So
great. That'd be a great spot to do it.
we'll see who says yes and who says no.
Mhm.
Another rumor about Secret Wars actually is Robert Downey Jr. He's apparently coming back for Secret Wars as well as a rumored cameo in Armor Wars. So whether that's him or like an AI video type
Huh.
thing, but Robert Downey Jr. back in the MCU.
Maybe it'll be a flashback in the Armor Wars thing
Yeah,
because doing an AI thing would be you'd be kind of treading down a dangerous road because then maybe you start seeing then it's like, well, why don't we see him more and more? Yeah, that sounds great. I would love to see him thrown back in the mix. I can totally see too with him, maybe more so than Chris Evans, like getting away from being Iron Man, then being like, like I like doing my other stuff, but I'd like to be able to putz around with this a little bit and still be Iron Man here and there where it makes sense. Obviously, and obviously with comic books, you can bring
yeah, if
characters
they're gonna
back.
give the money, yeah, back
Yeah,
up the brake
well,
truck for him. Absolutely.
that too, but I kind of mean the relevance of like because obviously Robert Downey Jr. has been through so much shit through the years. Like now he was king of the hill for a long time. Like not just in Marvel, like he was the guy for quite a bit. And
Yeah.
people still like him and stuff, but him as Iron Man is like the thing. Chris Evans is like it took him took pulling teeth to get him to play that role. So I like that's where I don't
Hmm.
ever see him necessarily coming back. It'd be great if he did, but I wouldn't be surprised if that never happened. Robert Downey Jr. though makes more sense.
And last bit of news here, we have the Beyonder. I don't know if you have any familiarity with him, Nick, here, but he's allegedly going to be the big bad of Secret Wars and
Mhm.
reportedly be a Kang variant. So kind of like a meshing of the two characters. I'm not sure in the comic books if the Beyonder had anything to do with Kang whatsoever, but maybe for time or continuity or easiness with the plot, they'll make him a Kang Jonathan Majors variant.
That's the only thing that I was kind of thrown off by in all this. Like having Beyonder thrown in the mix, okay, cool. But why is he going to be a Kang variant? I think in the end, he's not like as well known enough of a character that it's going to be an issue. But it just does seem like why do we need to go there? Why don't we just keep the focus on Kang, or why don't just if it's for Secret War specifically, why don't we just keep it on the Beyonder or set like start planting seeds in some capacity, I guess. But yeah, it's just a little odd. I don't. Okay. I guess is all I can say about that in the end. If you're looking for a straight up answer.
My wonder is we have the first movie of Phase Five kicking off with Kang coming out here with Ant-Man and Quantumania,
Yep.
and then of course we're having a Kang Dynasty, which I have no idea, but I imagine that's going to be like a Kang Dynasty War. We see a whole bunch of Kangs here. This is going to be very Kangsters movie, much like Infinity War was a Kang or a Thanos centric kind of backstory, right? So I kind of see that following there. My concern is, do we get too much of this big bad major villain throughout Phase Five here? By the time that we get all of this, are we kind of done with Jonathan Majors as Kang? Now, maybe that's a local sports talk radio way of kind of finding the negative slant of something that we're looking forward to. But before we've even gotten anything, but I'll ask it anyway. I'll facilitate away.
I think that is a that is a great way to hedge it, but I also do think that is a fair question to ask, because that's the thing with Thanos that made him so awesome was like he had a lot of different puppets that he was working with. He had Loki for a period, he had Ronan for a
Hmm.
period, and then obviously you got Gamora, who like seemed like a puppet but wasn't in the end. So yeah, he had all those moving pieces. Where now, if you do it with Kang, I mean, the only other because even then, if you do a mess of Kangs and then there's this one Kang who's calling the shots, it's still like okay, but it's still Kang who's like the
Right.
guy.
Yeah.
Like the only thing could be like if it's like the outfit that you want to see Kang in, like the one you think of with him, and then you finally see him at the end. That might be the only thing that helps. But I think it, I think it's a fair question. I think what this character has the benefit of right now in this what the MCU is doing here is Phase Four. Like
Hmm.
as much as I like Phase Four, what would you say like in the end? Like you were fine with Phase Four or didn't like it?
I think I might retcon to the worst because
Okay.
I think Phase One has still has the luxury of being first,
Mm.
and still having that little bit of like, being able to kind of cut some corners and cut it some slack because they are starting right from the bottom.
Yeah, so then that even helps my point more so because
Yeah.
if you're in the majority, let's say of it being the worst, then now you're going to switch into this where now we're getting back to the larger narrative, and now people are just like, I'm just glad we're getting this. And if you're not going to do it over 3 phases like you did with Thanos, maybe you do it over 2, or even if you do it over 3, people could be like, we have what we want, though. We have that larger story and all the connective tissue, so now we're getting back to it, so it's fine. Because after that, like 2-3 year lull, that may have been very beneficial.
All right. Well, last bit of news here before moving on to the comic book minute. I saw this. I'm not sure how accurate this is, but I'll throw it out there anyway. See if it sticks. Maybe make some headlines. Maybe we make some news here. But I saw on Twitter that Warner Brothers Discovery is considering a hard reboot of the Harry Potter franchise. New cast, the whole shebang. Still based off the Harry Potter books, of course, but it would just be another shot at it, much like Ghostbusters.
Man, I think. See, here's the tough part. I think I'd have to go watch the first movie. I think I'd have to, but I also kind of really hate the idea, just on principle, Wes. I mean, these movies. I can't remember the first one came out, but these all came out in the 2000s, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, how are you going to go and justify rebooting something that's only 20 years old? I mean, I'm sure there are things that's happened with quite a bit over the years. Maybe I just don't realize it in certain cases, but it just strikes me as very odd. And I think too, like when you get something that maybe you did a reboot of something from the 80s in the aughts, okay, but there's significant improvements in special effects in those 20 years. And while from the aughts to now, we've had significant improvements in CGI, I don't know, it just feels like a little bit of a stretch. And like,
yeah, I wonder if it's because it's like 2000 and 2020 is still the same millennia, where if it's like the 80s, 90s, and 2000s feel almost separate upon themselves. They feel like a decade
I want,
because
and I'm
it's so different. I don't know. Just
so
maybe that's just like the hearing it in my head.
first one came out in 2001. And maybe, the other thing could be too, Wes, is like, well, you raise a good point, by the way. I don't want to skip over that, but maybe this is a product of like, this is what happens when you start getting to this age. Like they start rebooting things that you saw when you were younger. It's
Yeah,
like
it's fair. Yeah.
you're going to do it again already. And this could be a thing that we start running into because who knows? What if, like, I mean, well, so I was gonna say like DC, but like we're gonna get another reboot from DC, so kind of makes sense. But yeah, it is.
Well, the
I think I'll see it, but it's
superhero
strange.
move, the comic, it happens in comic books, right? So like whether that we agree with comic book movies being remade or not, or rebooted or not, like that's what happens in the comic books. That's kind
Mhm.
of the medium, right?
Yep.
Even when you talk about like something like Terminator or something along those lines, the Halloween movies that have been rebooted, I don't know, sequel, prequels, all of that stuff, right? Offshoots.
Sure.
I don't know that those kind of play, but even with like the Terminator, it hasn't been an original Terminator redone. It's kind of been like a play on it or something else, where you have already IP established for Harry Potter books, and I'm assuming that's what they would still be using. That it wouldn't be like I don't
Yeah,
think what's her name, J.K. Rowling would allow like a new story to be done
that would be a bold
under
move.
Harry Potter with the same characters. I don't know how much change you can make other than the actors. It's
Right.
like this feels like really creatively bankrupt. Like they're they can't think of anything that would make money, so let's redo what is already making us money. They
And
just built the whole Hogwarts Harry Potter world. Like, so
yeah.
what happens if they build a whole new rebranding of Hogwarts in this new series? And then what? The next move is to build a new Hogwarts at the Discovery Land of Adventure, Six Flags, or wherever it is in Florida. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so the last one, the eighth movie came out in 2011. And I don't know if you mentioned that when you first brought it up before, when you brought up the timeline and stuff. But yeah, I mean, like we're talking right now, it's as the crow flies, it's been
Hmm.
12 years since the last movie came out. Now, if they go and do a reboot, it's gonna, it probably won't happen right away. But if it did, like I don't know. That's that like you said, it seems like an odd move. The best thing would be to try and branch out, like Game of Thrones essentially has. Do it where you
Right.
can. And if that
But
means
that failed. They did it with the Dumbledore or the Fantastic Beasts movies, right?
so those were fine. I think would be the best way. They were fine. Like, and
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
like I like Harry Potter. I always want to. I'm like we're actually probably going to do a Harry Potter marathon, Lauren and I, in a couple weeks because we're going to have a weekend
Nice.
to do that. But I'm not like I am with the Marvel thing, like or certain characters specifically. It's like, well, this doesn't make sense, and that like I'm not that particular with Harry Potter as much as I read 5 of the 7 books. That said, the route that they chose to take with the Nuke Scamander stuff leading things off felt very odd to me. Like I get where you're pulling from, but it's like who are you hoping to pull in besides the little kids with all
Yeah.
the fantastic beasts? It just didn't it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I would think again, and I know there's like Marvel. I know Warner Brothers is in a complicated situation, like because it's if you're dependent on J.K. Rowling stuff, we don't know the particulars of the contract, and obviously J.K. Rowling is like a hot button issue these days. But I
Hmm.
don't like. Can you do something in the Harry Potter world and not have it be J.K. Rowling written, or do you have to do that? And if so, like I don't know how many things she's done in the Harry Potter world besides Harry Potter. And have she's done a bunch of stuff, they haven't really been that successful, not to that level at least, which I know is a high bar, but still.
Yeah, I think she has a new, or they have a new game coming out that is supposed to be a pretty cool, like new story, new
Yes.
like immersive wizarding world video game. So
Mhm.
that'll be interesting to see. But I think you're right. I think it's just Fantastic Beasts and this for that Harry Potter world. But
It's a poor decision,
like
don't you think?
yeah, and you said your dad's a big fan of Star Wars.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like much like anyone else with Star Trek or something like that, you get some of these legacy sci-fi kind of fiction stories that kind of these great epics on that are unfolded on the big screen. You can't wait to pass them down, right? I'm sure he couldn't wait to share those movies with you and your brother. Much like Goo can't wait to share, Ninja Turtles or Super Mario Brothers with Raffi or whatever,
Mhm.
much like I'm excited to share the Harry Potter franchise with my future daughter, right? So I
Mhm.
think having that taken away, like possibly is pretty disappointing. But then
Mhm.
just if you think about the reboot, like forget Harry Potter and Hermione and Dumbledore and Ron Weasley and like how like synonymous those actors became with those roles. But like the side ones, like Snape, McGonagall, Draco Malfoy, Hagrid, um, name pick pick your whatever, like
Yep.
there's a bunch of side characters who become synonymous with the roles because they did such a good job acting throughout that 10-year run.
Yeah, but and I think what they got to be thinking about too, Wes, and considering this, because I feel like I've heard this before. Maybe it was with covers of for music. When you go and reboot something like this, people are going to go back and rewatch the old stuff.
Yeah.
Whether it's people who refuse to watch the new stuff because like this is my legacy shit, and I'm going to rewatch this because they support it, or it's people who like saw the new one and it's like I got to go back and watch the old one and see how it compares side by side because everybody says oh the originals are great, and that's the thing too. The old ones hold up really well. Yeah,
Hmm.
I have watched Sorcerer's Stone in a long time, but my memory of it, like it still like works very well.
All the
For
movies hold up. We go back and watch them during the holiday season. It's a holiday movie, holiday adjacent movie.
Yes. By the way, when you talk about side characters, I think you said Malfoy. Lucius Malfoy is another one for me. Is it Jason Isaacs? I think who's also
Yeah.
he's also the villain in The Patriot.
Oh, is that him? Yeah. Okay. There
Oh
we go.
yeah, oh yeah,
See?
it is him. He is a real bastard.
Taking off box here, peeling them off. Gotta let the toes breathe. Why don't you hit us with the comic book minute while my toes are breathing?
Oh boy. By the way, Jason, yeah, it is Jason Isaacs. Okay. Anyways, comic book minute. So this week, if you are a Scarlet Witch fan, we got a Scarlet Witch series starting this week. Scarlet Witch issue 1 hitting shelves from Image. Another big week. Spawn 337. Radiant Pink issue 2, part of the Massive Verse. The Magic Order volume 3. issue 6. I talked about that series on the show a while back. Really enjoy it. Nita Hawes Nightmare Blog issue 11. That is a spin-off series from the Philadelphia universe by a friend of TLDR, Rodney Barnes. That has been an awesome series as well. DC, we got Dark Knights of Steel issue 9. And DC recently has this series, and I think DC versus Vampires. I think those are the only two. But where you have like Black Label, where it's like these one-off things within DC. Dark Knights of Steel might also be Black Label too. I'm not certain. Same with DC versus Vampires, but it's taking these it's creating these own like events with these characters, and it's like it's all the Marvel, all the DC characters, that you care about. But now it's putting them in this own this contained story where you can kind of raise the stakes for these characters and not affect the mainline stuff. So like in DC versus Vampire, spoiler, like Batman dies. Like not an issue. It's not part of the DC main continuity. So they can kind of have more fun. Dark Knights of Steel set in medieval times with these characters. So talked about DC versus Vampires on TLDR a little while back. I know Chris Scheim is reading that as well. So definitely something worth picking up. And Dark Knights of Steel has been really awesome too. Also, we got Poison Ivy, issue 8 out this week, which I talked about on TLDR a little while ago as well. As for TLDR specifically, we got the January solicit coming out this week, looking at the books that are coming out this week and throughout the entirety of the month, as we do it on the first Wednesday or ahead of the first Wednesday every month. And we also did our annual last week, like Wes and I are about to do right now.
Oh, very, very nicely done with the segues there. Beautiful stuff. All right, so for the main topic, we have our CMM 2022 Year in Review Spectacular Bonanza Extravaganza. How's that? That's a little bit of a wordful, a little bit of a working title.
I think that's perfect. I don't think working title. I think that's what it should be. I think it's not long enough.
By the way, like I said, I don't know if you have been sick over this break, but I have not been able to shake this stuffy nose. It's like everything else is fine, but I just have this like nasal drip that gets into my lungs and then from my nostrils. And it's just repeating. It's just a reuse, recycle.
I have been dealing with stuff for sure, and I don't know if I sound a little congested. I apologize to everybody, but yeah, I definitely been dealing with some stuff. But it's the cough that was just I started feeling it like midway through. I'm like, come on, get through it. And I decided to go long on the DC stuff, unfortunately. But anyways, I am ready for actually. You want to start off with what we reviewed in 2022, or is there something else?
Yes. Let's do it. We had 17 total reviews for exit surveys, if you will. Some not all exit surveys, though. We had 10 movies, 7 TV shows or streaming shows. 6 were Marvel, 6 non-superhero topics, and 3 DC titles.
Okay.
And then I'll run through to the bottom of the page. You take over at the top of the next page.
Yep, gotcha.
Yep. All right, so we had starting with our most recent reviews here. Avatar: The Way of Water, episode 201. 95-94 split on our part. We had a Christmas Story Christmas, which was an original versus sequel debate. This one, I don't think we gave it grades, though. You want to give this a quick grade for me, Nick?
Shoot, Wes. I saw that we were going to touch on it, and I was like, I don't know where I want to necessarily put this as a grade. The original one is like, mid 90s. For in terms of grading for Christmas movie.
Oh yeah, but the reboot,
yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to stall as I'm like trying to think this through.
I'd say like in 79, 80. It's not a great movie, but it does some things well. But like I don't know if I'll go back and rewatch it.
I'd probably give it an 82, just because of how it hit me. And like I told you, it hit me like in terms of my life. It hit me in a spot where it just kind of got me. So yeah, I'll go 82. But yeah, so we're 82-80 split.
Okay, and we have maybe we were swept up by the holiday cheer too.
Yep. That's going to happen every year to people too. So
of course. Episode 196, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. That's a 93-86 split. We had The Watcher, maybe an 8-10 episode series on Netflix starring Bobby Cannavale. It goes back to episode 194 in our archives. That was a 75-80 split for us. Episode 193, Black Adam, was an 81-83 split. She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, perhaps one of our bigger differences of opinion on this program here. Episode 192, if you care to listen. That's an 84-55 split. Miss Marvel, episode 180, 89, 79 split. And I kind of forgot that this came out this year, but I'm
Yeah.
happy I did it. The Boys season 3, episode 179. That's a 97-96 split.
Yeah, and then looking at the rest of these two, as Wes has been doing going forward, all the grades are me first and Wes second.
Yes.
Thor: Love and Thunder, that was episode 178. I gave it a 92. Wes gave it an 81. Stranger Things season 4, episode 175 of Change My Mind, that got a 90-87 split. Jurassic World Dominion, 82-84 split. That was episode 174. 2 episodes before that, we reviewed Top Gun Maverick, and that was an even 95-95 between the two of us.
Love it.
Two episodes before that, Moon Knight, I gave it an 89. Wes gave it a 79, same grading as we did on Miss Marvel. Then we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That was the episode right before Moon Knight. That was an 88-83 split. The Northman, which I'm curious where Wes. We have certain categories where the Northman could come up. I'm curious if it does for Wes. That was episode 168. I gave it an 80. Wes gave it a 95. Another significant split for us. Morbius, we weren't too far off from each other in this one. Episode 164, 65-70 split. The Batman, episode 160, 96-94 split. And then Peacemaker was the last one, or I guess the first one that we reviewed. That was episode 158. That was a 90-84 split. And Wes, I believe we started doing this last year, where we start retconning some of our review scores. I don't remember where we capped it last year, but this year, are we good to do it at 3?
I think 3 feels like a good number. And let's start off with that first one, because I think we're both agreement on the, or at least we both made changes to this one here. Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yep. Yes, we did.
So you're lowering it from 92 to a what?
To an 89. My reasoning behind that, I still like this movie a lot. I did enjoy some laughs in this. I did like Gore the God Butcher a lot. But I think, 92 probably got caught up in some of the hype a little bit too much. And looking back on it, I think I liked some things either similarly or more. And I needed to lop this down a little bit as a result.
Yeah, and I think if I remember this correctly, when we did this exit survey, I did the real smart, savvy podcasting move of giving this a decent grade, but then bashing it every chance that I could get to really ride the fence. So
Yep.
I think I needed to change my grade to reflect that. Did not like this movie. In fact, I think this movie made me sour on Taika Waititi as a whole, as a director, perhaps as a person. Didn't really care for him or his arrogance overall. So I, again, needed to reflect that a little bit more. And I think Chris Hemsworth even said as much, saying that he doesn't want to work with these eccentric, know-it-all genius wonderkin directors there. And I think I was pretty clear who he was talking about in Taika. So, and 81 originally is what I gave it, and I'm going to drop it down to a 76.
So, while I understand you souring on and everybody else souring on Taika Waititi after this, I do get that. If you didn't like it, it wasn't for you. Totally get it. For Chris Hemsworth to say that though, dude, like your Thor was kind of nothing before Taika came on. So I'm not saying that like maybe he could have done things differently, but if anybody needs to like pump the brakes on their like take about Taika, it's probably Chris Hemsworth.
But maybe he liked working with them in the first one, and then by the time they got together for the next one, the fourth one here, there was like, all right, the ego was just too big.
And that's fine. I mean, look, obviously his stock skyrocketed after his first Thor movie. I'm talking about Taika, but I mean, like at the same time, like there's a diplomatic way to handle that and be like, look, like yeah, it was great, and then just this one didn't necessarily work out. Simple. Don't go and say I don't want to work with these like headstrong or whatever eccentric.
Well, maybe it's less diplomatic and more political, and maybe if they're saying like, hey. Listen, if they're going to choose, between Taika Waititi, who may be up for, Yeah, at the time when they said it, maybe they're considering him for Secret Wars or something like that, and then Hemsworth is still on for however many more years of his contract, and he's like, listen, if it's him or me, I'm gonna make cast my vote to the public and let them know that I want it to be me over him. I don't know.
Oh.
That's just a devil's advocate.
No, I see what you're saying. No, it's not devil's advocate. That makes a lot of sense. That's a good call. It's an interesting way to break it down.
The other movie, actually, we're staying in the MCU here because these scores get brought up so much when we do, our ongoing MCU movies as well as our formerly called MCU rewatch vault. But Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, again, episode 169. You gave it an 88. I gave it an 83. I watched this movie over the weekend. I am turning this movie back up. I appreciate well, I'm not crazy about the Scarlet Witch story. I think there's some things that I would like done differently there. But I like on the whole a lot of the things they've done with Doctor Strange in this. I like the chances that Sam Raimi took to kind of make this stand out visually, kind of on its own, maybe a way separate from the MCU. Some really cool things there. So I gave it an 83 originally, bumping it up to 86. Not crazy about the multiversal Illuminati as we discussed previously, but you still have to give them credit for trying and getting that on the screen.
Yeah, and as you alluded to, we are both gonna adjust our scores here, and of the, so I am taking advantage of the three, and I'm gonna adjust three of my scores, but two are gonna be knocked down. This is the only one that's gonna be bumped up, and I know I originally jotted down one score, but I'm actually gonna bring this all the way up from an 88 to a 90. I really like this movie, and I know you had your issues with the Scarlet Witch stuff. I really liked a lot of the Scarlet Witch stuff, and I think that at the time we talk like people like we're like, oh, the Raimi stuff and whatever. But you look at some of the horror elements that they mixed in here. There's especially with Scarlet Witch, like there was a lot of stuff that I really liked coming out of it. Um, the things that bothered me were definitely like distinct things. Like there was that one scene with Doctor Strange and America Chavez, and was it Wong or somebody else? Like, oh no, it was the other world Mordo that like took them through
Mm-hmm.
weird trans like that. That bothered me how they handled it visually. Like, I don't have a problem with the story, what was trying to get across there, but like visually, it felt like way too 90s, and it just seemed
Yeah.
out of place with everything else. But like that's one distinct thing that bothered me, but it's such a small thing. And in general, when we talk about like rewatching stuff, I have not gone back and rewatched this recently as you have, but like this is something that I know Laura and I are gonna go and rewatch. She's also a huge Scarlet Witch fan, so that may or may not have a factor in me giving this an extra point. But yeah, like I have no problem bumping this up regardless from an 88 to a 90.
Yeah, and again, I think as the rest of the MCU Phase 4 has felt a little formulaic, or a little bit lacking in like I don't know if originality is the right term, but this one feels like it stands alone for me at least, out of the rest there. And I think my original disappointment because my hopes were so high, I was so excited for it that it wasn't as expansive or as big as I hoped it was. That was where my big real letdown was, and I think with a
Sure.
little bit of time, looking back and kind of see how it marinates with the rest of Phase 4, I think this one clearly rises to the top.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, looking like this, and the other thing too for me, along similar to that, this is kind of something that's more my vibe. Like not like Raimi specifically isn't, but like the dark and grittiness of this movie, like that's like what they do with Scarlet Witch and what they try and do
Hmm.
with the evil Doctor Strange. Like those kind of things are more my sort of thing too. So yeah, so I'm glad you had been saying for a while that like when we get to this episode that you were probably gonna bump this one up a little bit. So I'm glad that you feel better about that one. For me, I know you have one more. I also have one.
Hmm.
So I have obviously something I was very excited about coming into this year was Moon Knight. Getting that movie,
Sure.
getting that show. Excuse me. I hope we get more Moon Knight. I did like this series. I did, but that said, I am gonna dock this one just 1 point. I did have to. I kind of had to work a little bit because I knew Thor. I was gonna bump down. Doctor
Mhm.
Strange, I knew I was gonna bump a little bit, and I did want to take advantage of the third one. And the reason why I want to dock Moon Knight down from an 89 just to an 88 is because I need that level of separation from Miss Marvel. Because
I see.
I really liked Miss Marvel, and I thought it was, and this was a show like going into it that I binged like in preparation for our show, and I would have look. Of course, we ask each other questions like, "Would you have watched this if we weren't doing the podcast?" I am pretty much a standard. If it's a comic book thing, I want to watch it. Um,
Mhm.
but that said, even though we're doing the show, I waited till almost the last possible minute to watch Miss Marvel. And then when I did, I absolutely loved it. So
Yeah.
I need, and as much as I enjoyed Moon Knight and I had fun with it and thought they got some of the important stuff with the character right, there was definitely like I feel like they definitely could have done some things better from a story aspect and not necessarily a storytelling aspect, but from like the actual contents of the story and how you like what you wanted to introduce the character to. So yeah, some of the visuals were good. I thought that Oscar Isaac was great, but there were definitely improvements to be made. And I think that if that wasn't one of my favorite Marvel characters, that I would not have put it on the same level as Miss Marvel. So I need to at least represent that here.
All right. Well, I love big. It's very big of you, Nick.
Thank
Very
you.
big of you to make a small change. Um, my last one here is the Batman. I had it at a 94. I'm going to lower it down to a 90. So still keep it in the A movies, but I think a 4 point drop is considerable. Not precipitous,
Oh
but
yeah.
considerable.
No, that's
Um,
significant.
yeah, and I just think it's a little long. I went back and rewatched it. It just doesn't. It kind of trods along. There's some great parts in it. A super cut of this movie would be awesome to watch. If you find that on YouTube or something, send me the link. But there's some things I remember when I rewatched it when it first came out on HBO. I'm like, I don't know. After the hype and like the excitement of the theater and kind of having a new Batman out, it's like, it's just okay. Didn't kill it for
Wow.
me.
Wow.
Well, I mean, it was good. It killed it to the degree of a 90, but not to a
Sure.
94.
Sure. That's fair. Okay. Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
So
I mean, yeah. I mean,
let's
listen,
get
see,
so,
how can I nitpick on you on that? It's still 90.
yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, but I just feel like, if 94 is an A, but this is an A minus. So that's where we're at. Year in review question. So we'll nominate a couple for these categories, as much as we can. Maybe we'll get some honorable mentions in here, much like our exit surveys here with these questions. But what show or movie surprised you the most in 2022, good or bad?
So, okay. So we have a lot of shows too that in movies that we didn't review and that we
Yes. Yeah.
that I am going to mention throughout the
Yeah,
course
they
of
should
our
be. They should.
conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I have 2 good ones that really jump out to me right away, but, so Top Gun: Maverick, obviously good. Like, that was
Mm-hmm.
holy
Mm-hmm.
crap. Like, as someone who hadn't seen the original Top Gun, then watched it in preparation for what we were gonna do, I was like, like, I needed to do Top Gun 2 when we were doing our debate because I couldn't like, there's no way I could make an argument for the original
Mm-hmm.
Top Gun. So I was blown away by that one. Still holds up. Have recently rewatched it actually. It was so good. And then Wednesday, which is the Adams Family show on Netflix. Oh my god!
Mm-hmm.
Like I like go like coming into this like before watching Wednesday, I probably would have picked. Nah, Sandman didn't surprise me. I mean, I really liked it a lot though. But Sandman was probably my favorite show. Mm, like not objectively, Sandman probably was my favorite show. I think
Mm-hmm.
they
Okay.
ended up being my favorite show, and I thought it was going to be good, but I was like, it was so fucking good.
Right.
And then without going into detail on some of these other ones, Andor, in a good way, I thought that was going to stink.
Mm-hmm.
Rings of Power in a good way, I didn't. I was like, I don't know. And then The Watcher in a bad way.
All right. I like that. The Watcher, I agree with there. But again, I enjoyed the ride, but it was much like you said, the ending is very disappointing there, which may,
Yep.
may ruin it. But a couple of bad surprises, She-Hulk, Thor, Love and Thunder. Those two things, if you go back in the archives, very, very excited. I was very excited for She-Hulk. I was very excited for Thor, Love and Thunder. And then to get what we got, or to get what I got, I think,
Yeah.
from my perspective, was disappointing.
Mhm.
Um, I'm with you on Top Gun Maverick. Again, didn't really have much expectations other than just like a fun time, and it was going to be, more of the same of Top Gun, which was great. But it was so much more than that for what, despite being exactly the same movie for so many like different reasons there, right?
Yeah.
Um, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, very fun movie,
Yeah, it's a
very
good
fun
one.
movie. I had a good time with that one.
Yep.
The Rehearsal, big Nathan Fielder fan, um, but didn't really know what this was going to be or if I was really going to find it funny. Billy and Matt kept harping on it in our group chat, and then I couldn't put the show down when it was finally on. So, pleasant surprise there. Recency bias with this one, A Christmas Story Christmas. Again, very low expectations, but pleasantly surprised.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
same could be said for Werewolf by Night. Didn't really care for it. Kind of like what you said with Miss Marvel, like waited to the last second to kind of watch this sort of thing, and it was like kind of just an afterthought. And it was an enjoyable ride. Once again, had a lot of fun. Wasn't great. Didn't blow my socks off or anything, but it was worth the 30, 35, 40 minutes I put into it.
I'll tell you what, Christmas Story Christmas, that's a really good call because I was definitely like,
Hmm.
"What? Why? Who thought we needed this?" And as I've said, I cried while watching this movie. So, good
There we
call. That's
go.
good. That's a good list. That is a good list, Wes.
So this is a phrase that you might be hearing a lot of here this episode, but I think it's worth noting here. What movie or show did you enjoy the ride but hate the ending?
So, I okay. So first of all, The Watcher. I mean, that is a very easy one. That
Yeah,
is, I would
I think
assume that.
that's where this thought was coined.
Yeah, it was like it was infuriating. Like, and to me, I could even argue that, like, I started, like, wanting to hop out of that early on, like, and, like, maybe earlier than just the ending, I guess, because it's just, like, some of the stuff was fucking dumb, and then look, I had heard from you, not the exact ending, but I knew you were let down by the ending, so I was aware
Hmm.
of that the whole time, and actually, you know what? As I thought I was gonna say it was a detractor, no, that should have helped me going into that. I should have been prepared to be disappointed. And I was
Yeah.
still really like annoyed with what they did. And now they're talking about doing a second season. Like, how fucking dumb is that?
Mm-hmm.
So the Watcher is that for me. And then I don't know that I have another one that really falls under that into that category for me, but I do have one that's kind of the inverse, and that's the House of the Dragon. I liked it, but I didn't love it. Like, I probably would have given it like an 80 for the show. Like, up until maybe the last 2 episodes, definitely the last episode. But like, I really liked how they left that show. That doesn't necessarily make you feel great going into the next season because, like, you took so long to get to this kick-ass point, but they're also at this kick-ass point now. So that was the inverse for me with that season.
I'm with you on House of the Dragon with that call. I'm actually great with that.
Thank you.
Um, Glass Onion, Knives Out story, much like The Watcher. Enjoyed the ride. Wasn't crazy about the ending. We haven't got a chance to really talk about this yet, so I'll be eager to hear what you have to say about this. But not a great follow up to a Who Done It story. It wasn't a great murder mystery, in my opinion. It was a great cast, great acting, so I didn't have as much fun. Yeah, I didn't really mind sitting through the 2 hours of it there, but I would have liked more of a murder mystery out of Knives Out there. So I was a little disappointed with how all of that ended up kind of playing out, although I had fun with it. And then these next two were kind of be catch all into like Netflix documentaries as a whole, but Bad Vegan, Tinder Swindler, some of these things, it's like a train wreck to watch unfold, but I can't look away. And it's very satisfying to see dumb people get their comeuppance or downfalls there. But most of these things, like I hate, I just think of like how stupid you have to be. Like Bad Vegan is very stupid. Tinder Swindlers, the new one, don't pick up the phone. Have you seen this?
No.
So it happened actually at a bunch of excuse me, Wendy's across the country, or fast food restaurants, but where this guy who was like a former cop or something would call these Wendy's in these like middle middle class, middle American, very nice towns, and tell them that they like just had a robbery from one of their employees, and then has the manager over the phone strip search the employee that he is accusing of stealing the money. So it's like it happened in Wareham, another one maybe in Somerset or something like that, another one in the South Shore. But like men, women didn't matter. But so this manager is getting these managers plural are getting manipulated and tricked by a guy over the phone to like strip search someone's vaginal or anal cavity for $100 bill, and nothing is going off in their minds that like, hey, maybe this is a scam or a prank call, because apparently this guy is like so good at kind of making it seem like, it's not that big of a deal, but I need you to do this and it's important at the same time. So I don't
Jeez.
know, like the end, like it just infuriates me. So like that's kind of my thought with like Bad Vegan, Tinder Swindler, that sort of thing.
What's that one called
And
again?
it's called Don't Pick Up the Phone. It's fairly new. Probably
Don't
just
pick
came out
up.
like within the last couple weeks on Netflix.
Okay, well, that was something. Jeez.
Yeah. And the last one, and again, this isn't. I didn't hate the ending of this. I just thought it was a couple episodes too long. The Terminal List on Amazon. This is a Chris Pratt
Oh, it was.
show. So I just watched it. Just binged it over the week. Actually, it was super good. Loved it. Amazing. But it gets to the point where like his list grows by like two or three too many people. Right,
You know
his
what? Actually,
terminal list grows. So
you
so
did
he's
say
like
that.
John Rambo by the end of it.
You did say that at dinner, didn't you? Yeah. Okay. I felt like because at first, because I remember you speaking about it positively, and I was like, wait a second.
No, I
What?
did. I did love it, and I do recommend it. But like that was my one real critique, is that like that, and like Chris Pratt kind of says like a Batman line. I think he says literally, "I am vengeance."
So can we have a quick like?
I am.
I know we're going long, but can we have like a quick side talk about Knives Out real quick?
Yes, yeah, please.
So I didn't have the issue that everybody else did, and if you haven't seen Glass Onion, a Knives Out story yet, please, if you're listening to us in audio form, fast forward, a couple seconds or so. Wes, so like, was the issue that it was the character? I saw some people say it was the character who like we all knew it was that did it in the end. I didn't feel that way. Did you feel it was the character that? Did you feel that, or did you feel it was the character that made the most sense in the end? Is that what bothered you?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that the who done it bothered me. Like it was the way that it unfolded. Again, like I enjoyed the whole story, but I feel like it's a weak mystery when it's like not a mystery, but it's really just like a screw up that stumbled in and we all made it to be bigger. Like I want it to be like a real, like this guy actually thought out moves here, and it was actually not just being like everything else he did in his life. Like
Gotcha.
he just bought and paid for everything. Like that's not really clever to me. It was like a something of my
Mhm.
expectations for cleverness.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's fair
and
enough.
then
Yeah.
again, aside from the plot holes, like say what you want. I think also what came up in conversation on the internet about this was like, do people know what a plot hole is? Which I think what might be a fair question. Sometimes I think that gets used hyperbolically to say
Sure.
this is something that doesn't make sense, right? It may not necessarily be a plot hole, but or this was dumb. Why do they do this, right? But when they bring in the twin sister onto the island, at no point does Miles Braun ever say, "Hey, you're the twin," or there's no conversation at all. Like there has. I feel like there would have to be some sort of acknowledgement, like, "Hey, didn't I just try to kill you? What's going on here?"
Mm. Okay. I mean, that is, and I think that's something that came up in the course of our dinner when it was
Yeah,
being discussed and all that. Um,
like that may not be a plot hole, but that's just like kind of bugs me.
I guess so. The first part of your issues with it, and again, I like Doc and Mac are, for those who don't know, Doc and Mac are very anti Ryan Johnson, which I can't understand their issues with Ryan Johnson.
No,
But
I'm with you though, where I'm more willing to say that he might be the director of the generation than
yeah,
saying that he's awful. He's made
Yes.
some really good movies aside from the major bad
Well,
ones.
when I said that, I was definitely just trying to like further ignite the fire under their asses.
Sure. Stick
Okay,
in the ribs.
just to be clear. But yes, he has done stuff outside of the Star Wars that pissed most of us off, in some capacity. But no, so with this, I hear the first half, like I get it, like that all makes sense. I have nothing to like add on it. Like I understand. I guess with the bit about the twin, I think in the end, you know what? I think in the end, I could be wrong, but it kind of falls under your first complaint where it's like where it all happened by accident. Like to me, when it's like,
Sure.
okay,
Yeah,
we
yeah, I see what you're
know
saying.
was it Miles, right? That was his first name.
I think so, yeah.
So Miles is a whole dolt in the end. So it's like instead of nipping in the bud right away, he's just kind of like, I'm gonna try and handle it quietly, but then like I don't know because he's a fucking moron.
Yeah, and again, like I don't know, sending the
Goes
whole
with what you're
thing to
saying.
begin with, like including the sister, the twin sister, in on everything too. I hear. I think that's a good point about you, about like saying the second point kind of nulls or falls under the first point there.
Yeah,
So
falls under.
I
Yeah,
see what
yeah.
you're saying.
Definitely doesn't null it.
Um,
No, it all makes sense for your issues with it. And I don't like that. Like that's your issue with it. Like I think that's fair. Like you don't like the story, or you have issues with the story itself, with the writing. I guess in the end.
yeah, yeah. I just wonder. Yeah, that's where you'll see most of my problems with is with the writers' room.
I think
Very
that's
rarely is it with the actors or the directors, but it's just
huh.
maybe the showrunners behind it, or the maybe not so much the directors, showrunners, writers. That's where most of my critiques will come from.
That is, you know what? I never thought about it, but yeah, we don't think. And I think I don't know if I'm too far off on that because I don't feel like we complain about CGI or things as much. Oh no, the CGI fight, like you
Not
said,
as much
it's fair.
anymore.
It's
CGI,
fair.
I feel like is a fair testament, but I think we've been scaling that back after finding out the the amount of hours and pressure that they're under. So
Yeah, and pay that they don't
they
get.
don't want to hear it from some a couple of 30 something white guys on a mediocre podcast. Let's
Right,
spare them that.
mediocre. Yeah,
Um,
I think you're being generous.
but
And
but the Knives Out Who Done It story, Nick, wasn't the only thing that we didn't like from 2022. There were a few other things. What do you think will age the worst from this past year?
I mean, we've kind of hit on it a bit already, but the public's perception of this year's MCU movies. Like, I like them, but I think in general, most people did not like this year's MCU movies, and I think going forward, um, either people are going to dislike them more, or they're going to look back on it and say, like, "Oh, they set up for this with that, and they set up for that with that," and it's like, okay, these are kind of good, these are kind of cool, or whatever. If Marvel tries to improve what we got from
Hmm.
Phase Four, like they did with Thor: The Dark World, it'll
Now, but
be
let me ask you, you bring up Thor the Dark World. Do you actually like Thor the Dark World more because of what they did with Infinity War Endgame?
no, no, but I definitely like no. That is a fair question. I liked it more because of when we watched it and talked about it. But I think I still gave it like a 76 or
Yeah.
something to that end. But anyways, and then I think in the short term, DCU's presence in the mainstream conversation. I mean, that's an
Hmm.
undeniable what's going to age the worst because as much as James Gunn's going to be doing stuff, like once he announces this stuff, I don't know. I feel like we're gonna just not. We'll hear things, but it's just it's in an odd spot. And obviously, you have different people pulling in different directions when it comes to how DC's going forward. But I just think that right now it's going to be a lot of negativity around them. Even I know the Snyder Cut people are really driving that bus, but even outside of them, I would think that people are still like, "The fuck are you guys doing over there?"
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. Again, it's like a big highway accident there. You're kind of rubbernecking to see what goes on, and you don't want to
Yes.
look because you feel bad, but you can't look away at the same time.
Yep.
In that same vein of your MCU comment there, I'm going to go with maybe on the flip side, MCU's quantity over quality approach. So, how much they have 16 titles come up this year, something like that, 17 titles. Like, there was a good amount that we reviewed.
That's a lot.
Or
Yeah.
maybe that was just phase four in general. But however, there was a lot that came out between the shows, and the movies, right? Particularly on the DC or on the Disney Plus side of things. I think moving forward, we're going to see that scaled back. I don't think we're going to see nearly as many TV shows with nearly as many episodes. I think we're going to see more special presentations,
Mhm.
and hopefully that leads to stronger production in the movie theater and the box office, and kind of renews a fire underneath the fan base there without being, I don't know, just kind of like lulled over with your eyes glazed over, waiting for the next piece of content to consume from Marvel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I
Like
think
it actually means something a little more.
yeah, and on that to that end too, I think this year it's kind of not to I don't not to regurgitate what you're saying, but like this is a valuable learning experience for Marvel. MCU
Yeah.
fans are not the same as Marvel Comics fans. There is a difference there, or as comic book fans in general. Because as a comic book person, I part of the reason why I don't have an issue with some of the stuff that we got this year, where other people may have, is I like spending time with these characters, and I don't necessarily need something that's going to go and move forward or yeah, improve on the larger narrative in some capacity. I'm just like we can just get this self-contained thing, and that's cool. Excuse me, cool. See, this IPA is getting to me.
I love it. There we go.
Like,
Let the burps fly.
but
And I'm with you too on the DC stuff. So that was my other nominee.
oh, okay. Well, there we go. But with like that's now with Marvel, it's like okay, we should just treat it like we're comics people. We can get a little pissed with events because they can throw
Hmm.
things off. They can bring pauses to main titles that are doing their own thing, or they can throw them in the mix, and it's just it can be annoying. Now it's like no. With MCU stuff, you should pretty much just like focus on like yes, you're gonna have this the its own story within each movie, but you need to have an impact on the larger situation, on the larger event. Everything needs to be a tie-in in some capacity.
Yes. 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 I love it here. What do you think will age the best from 2022? And I know we were talking about reboots and IP expansion earlier, but now how it's kind of like a creatively bankrupt idea. I'm
Mhm.
in agreement with that for a large part, but this seems to be a big winner of the year.
Yeah,
Rings of Power, not Lord of the Rings, House of the Dragons back. What else do we have?
I
What
mean,
else? What else?
well, I mean, you look at
Ghostbusters come out this year.
it kind of goes with I mean what I had was blockbuster movies in general, like things that aren't just like these are their own
Hmm.
original movies, like Top Gun Maverick and Avatar 2. I mean that goes right into what you're talking about. And actually my other one too, Wednesday, like that's another one that goes right
Yeah.
into that. So I think in the end it where we're not voting on all these, I think in the end you're right, like reboots and IP expansion is the big winner here, or bet will age the best.
Yeah. Whether we like it or not, whether we like it
Yeah.
individually or not, I think it's on a per basis issue there that we can judge it. But yeah, I mean, even what we were just talking about, Knives Out. I mean, that's another reboot IP expansion sort of thing, and we're gonna get more. So,
Oh yeah, no
um,
doubt.
yeah. So everyone wants their own universe here. We're in the multiverse of media in 2023.
That is
Um,
very true.
that's not bad, right? Not bad.
Yeah.
What was the most rewatchable scene or moment in 2022, Nick? I got a whole bunch here. You want to start us off though?
Yeah, you got some really good ones listed off here. So for me, in any action scene at
Yes.
everything, everywhere, all at once was
Oh.
amazingly done. That was so good. The fanny pack fight, the keyboard fight. Michelle Yoa, I believe is how you say her name. I'm just frenetically trying to figure it out. But she's also in the Witcher Blood Origins miniseries that we got.
Okay.
She does an awesome job. She absolutely crushed that role, and the fight scenes are so fluid throughout all of that. Um, and some of the stuff that you're going to talk about are definitely memorable moments for me. But I think that the most rewatchable scene, like definitively of 2022 West, has to be the assault on the Russian base in Top Gun
Hmm.
Maverick.
I'm with you completely. I think that one takes the cake. Although my one correction was that there are no enemies. I don't think there's a. Was there? Are they? Do they say that they're Russian? I thought that was like the big takeaway in the commentary on Top Gun. Is that like no one really knows who we're fighting. And it's just some kind of like nondescript Eastern Bloc, maybe Russian, maybe Eastern European country, but I don't think they say. But it's funny. Maybe you're right. Maybe I mean that's easy enough to just assume it's Russia.
I did assume you might be right. It was a uranium air base though, or uranium like base in some capacity.
Oh, okay, okay,
There's
all right.
there's
Well, there
that.
we. Yes, I think
Yeah.
that's one of the funny takeaways from because they didn't want anyone off. I think this movie to air everywhere, so that's where like there's no enemies. Like that's we're not naming
Uh,
anyone. It's not
okay.
China. It's not North Korea. Um, but I tried to watch everything everywhere all at once on New Year's Eve, and then realized we had to buy it. It was like a $20 buy on Amazon or wherever it was or something. So
Oh
no,
yeah,
I'm
it
not going
was
to do it.
Showtime, through Amazon,
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, it was
yeah, yeah.
annoying. Yeah.
But okay, so a couple honorable mentions here. The Batman kicking ass in the rainy subway station early on against those hooded thugs, right? And
Yep.
with the face mask on and everything. This one's not usual action based here, but I think this one was great. Episode two, like almost in its entirety of the rehearsal with Nathan Fielder. This is when you're introduced to Angela, who wants to simulate raising a family and the things that she goes through. I mean, the list of demands that she needs to have in a husband and a house, what she wants in a house and where she wants to live. If she doesn't want to work or do anything to supply this, and she has all of these demands, these non-negotiables, and she's a 40-year-old single woman. So you tell me why she's single. I don't know, but very funny nonetheless. Um, this one might be in the running to maybe knock off Top Gunning here. Top Gun is Homelander versus Billy Butcher versus Soldier Boy in The Boys season 3. That kind of little three-way action there
Yeah.
that kind of simulate the Civil War fight in the MCU. This one, maybe more of an honorable mention, but Skarsgård, Alex Skarsgård in The Northman, pillaging the first village there, and that's an amazing scene. I feel like it's almost, or at least it's filmed like a one shot, so it almost looks like it's one continuous scene,
Yep.
but it's death and destruction everywhere around him, and he's just hulking and brooding, kicking ass the whole time. It's great.
Yep. That's definitely one that I think of originally. And the Homelander versus Billy Butcher versus Soldier Boy is absolutely a great one. And actually, too, when you talk about honorable mention stuff, the Wednesday dance scene, they have like a school dance, which she does, like her whole dance that she did. That is something that has like I've seen pop up on social media a ton still, and every time I still find myself having to watch that entire thing. And then Avatar too, like when we're talking about
Hmm.
non-action stuff, the Avatar stuff with the whale was, I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot of Avatar stuff that was
Free
crazy.
Willy. Free
Yeah,
Willy.
yeah, but yeah, a lot of rewatchable scenes from 2022. Definitely good in that regard. Let's
Who
see who
who had the
had.
best performance by a side character, Nick?
I got two for you, Wes. This was actually a tough one for me because I feel like it's just there's only one answer because again we're talking about side characters and we run into this issue all the time. Like who is a side character?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so Victor Dorbanadu as Thing in Wednesday. Not a single line was uttered by this individual,
Mm,
and you could only see
okay.
his hand. But oh my god, that character was great. Absolutely loved him. But for
Okay.
me, the winner is my dude, like who I dressed up as for Halloween. Joseph Quinn as Eddie Munson. So fucking good. God, I love that character. Like might be oh god, if we had to do a list of who our favorite characters were from 2022, I don't know. That'd be a tough list, but he's up there. He'd be my top 10. No, maybe top 5.
Well, you are one of the charter members of the Hellfire Club there, so that's all thanks to him. So that makes sense. I like that a lot. Couple again, Angela from the rehearsal, quick nomination. She was a hell of a character throughout that whole season. Willem Dafoe as the Jester in The Northman. Thought that was kind of perfect, but again, more of an honorable mention type of moment there.
Uh-huh.
Particularly during the mushroom psychedelic scene in the beginning when they're in the cave and you like just see his creepy face.
That was nuts. That was fucking nuts.
Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman in the Batman. I don't know if that qualifies as a side character or a co-lead, but she came away with a lot of love, rightfully so.
See, this one and the one you have listed above to me were I like well the okay. Who's the one who I'm alluding to? You have above.
Freddie Stroma as Vigilante in the Peacemaker series. Now, I would fight you more in Freddie Stroma than Catwoman, but I
Yeah,
think I see what you're saying in both.
I didn't even think of Zoe Kravitz. Like like not that like Zoe Kravitz did a great job as Catwoman. I thought she was awesome, but I like no, I don't think she's a side character. I did think about Vigilante.
Hmm.
And I think that's a fair that's now that I see you listing them, like, yeah, okay. So I think that is a fair take. And then he is right on that same a similar level to Eddie Munson.
Yeah, very funny. Had a good time. Had a couple lulls that series, thanks to him. So thank you, Freddie Stroma.
Yeah.
Um, Best actor or actress of 2022. I had a tough time with this one. I'm going to let you go.
So okay. So so I want to start off with my honorable mentions real quick because there were some really heavy hitters for me. Morfydd Clark as Galadriel in Rings of Power, Killian Murphy as Tommy Shelby. God, I love
Hmm.
that character. One of my he's okay, I this like all-time favorite character. I don't know what list he's on, but he's in some conversation for me in that regard within at
Okay.
least the top 100. He's so cool. So conflicted too. Charlie Vickers as Halbrand in Rings of Power, Tom Surridge as Morpheus, who the Sandman in Sandman. So good. So those are my honorable mentions. I think Anthony Starr's Homelander has to be in the conversation for Best
I
Actor of
like
the
this.
Year.
I like this a lot.
He's so good, man. I mean, it's just that character is like when that show's going on, when it's active, when it's out there, that's a straw that stirs the drink for the for the conversation of like I think pop culture in general. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I think the only other person that has had that same kind of impact this year was Jenny Ortega as Wednesday. Sorry, Jenna Ortega as Wednesday in the Addams Family show. But even then, as much as I loved her and that show was great and cannot wait for another season of that, I think for Anthony Starr, he's done it for this is his third season now.
Hmm.
You know, and now he's also like that character at the end of the show, like he's become like one of the, like a go-to gift for people too. I just think in so many ways he's dominated the scene where as this character that I think he's got to be my number one option here.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Was this like her big breakout role, Jenna Ortega? I feel like I've heard that name a lot recently.
I've
'Cause
definitely seen
She was
her.
in Scream this past year.
You know what, Wes? Why don't you go through your options and I will
Yeah.
look real quick because there's definitely another one I can't think of.
But she feels like one of those kind of it actresses that's kind of
Oh,
right on the come up there.
she was in You. Did you watch You? I forget.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, kind of, not really.
There was okay, one of the
Not
latest
enough
like
to know a cider character or something like that.
oh, okay. So but she was in You. I think it was I think maybe it was the second season she was You. She was like the younger
Okay.
sister of his landlord or something to that end. That's where I knew her
Oh,
from.
okay. All right. Okay. Well, yeah, yeah, good for her. You know, she's on the come up there.
Oh yeah.
A girl who is, or a woman who is fully ascended into stardom is Anna de Armas. That was one of my picks. Maybe not for so much of her. Again, maybe I'm kind of critical here. I'm going quantity over quality in this category, but for the MCU, I want quality over quantity. So let me just parse those real quick. Anna
Sure.
de Armas had three movies. Deepwater, The Gray Man, which is on Netflix, I really enjoyed. Deepwater was with her ex-boyfriend Ben Affleck, which I don't think was very well received. And of
Mm.
course, she played Marilyn Monroe in Blonde. That was an
Oh.
NC-17 rated movie. So you know, Marilyn Monroe, Anna de Armas, please, please, I would take that any day of the week. I was also announced she's going to be starring in the John Wick spin-off movie. I think it's called Ballerina or Show, whatever it is. So talk about a reboot IP expansion. There you
Oh.
go, right there. And
Okay.
she was coming off of No Time to Die, a James Bond flick. So big year for 2022 for Anna de Armas, and she's scorching hot. So please
Mhm.
and thank you.
Okay.
And the actor, I had nothing to come up with. This is recency bias, but um, Chris Pratt, just because I like him, and I just watched the Terminal List. That was the only. I couldn't really come up with anything else. But I like Anthony Starr's Homelander. I think that's the pick.
You know, I so Jenna Ortega just because that came out earlier in the year was like instantly, like right off the top of my head, like this is who I'm going to go with. And
Hmm.
Anthony Starr, it took a little bit of thinking at first because again, like it's so much earlier in the year. I think it was in the summer that series began. The
Right.
third
Yeah.
season began because I love Tom Sturridge as Morpheus, and that was the one I was thinking of. And Cillian Murphy has killed it as Tommy Shelby for 6 seasons. But yeah, in the end, no one moves the needle like Homelander does these days. Like he is. When you talk about villains in comic book movies, he's got to be number one right now of
He's
the
got to be up
active
there.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you because there's not a whole lot to choose from. Slim
No.
pickings these days.
Now
Um.
I need to ask this question because I see
Mhm.
certain things listed by you that I'm very interested in. Wes, I gotta ask you to expand on who you think lost in 2022.
Yeah, a couple honorable mentions here. I think Will Smith. Will Smith took a lot of L's this year. Right? That was the smack and everything, right? That was
I
this year.
I believe you're correct in saying that.
It was like right around this time last year, right? So or
Something
this,
to that
yeah,
end. Yep.
right around then, right? Um, Movies in general, but I agree with your notion of blockbuster movies kind of being back, and maybe we're getting some more like the return of like the original blockbuster action movie or something like that. So
Yep.
I'm with you on that, and I hope that's the case. But in the battle between TV and movies, like what had more that I was interested in this year? I think it was TV. So I think
I'm
that
with you.
in that kind of conversation, I would say the loser would be movies in that.
Yep.
The other one would be The Rock. Kind of took a couple L's here. If got made a big deal about being in Black Adam, and now he's seemingly kicked out of that, right? And he lost a whole bunch of money. Had to come out and like try to save face. It was like, well, if you consider Funko Pops and DVD sales in Uzbekistan, like Black Adam actually made some money. We were financially, we were good. Um, so I think that's kind of a tough look. And I think Ryan Johnson just came out and said on Glass Onion that Dave Bautista is the best wrestler turned actor in Hollywood or ever or whatever
I
whatever
didn't
he
even.
said.
Yeah, he did, and that was pretty much what it was. I didn't think about it through this lens. Holy shit, that's why people made such a big deal out of it.
Tough, yeah,
I don't know
tough
if I
look
agree
there for
with
The
that
Rock.
take when you. I don't know if I agree with that take when you compare him to The Rock. I don't know about that. What do you
I
like?
think I think his point was like he has more range.
Um,
Who knows?
that might be fair, but in the end, like I have like such an issue with Rock now, knowing that like you can't, he's not allowed to lose a fight on screen.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
that's fucking brutal. I'm sorry.
The
Not.
MCU, I think we've touched on that, quite a bit here throughout this episode about my problems with the downfall of the MCU in this past year.
Mm,
But the one I think you're most interested in, you got to acknowledge. I mean, tough year for Kanye West. Very very tough year. Took some weird turns. Took some weird people in his corner. I was watching it every step of the way. I was locked in. Sometimes like through my eyes like this, but still
mm.
watching and like what's happening, what's going on. And now you haven't heard from it all. So like I don't know what's going on with them. And I don't know what's more concerning is like when we hear from Kanye for an extended period of time, like we did for like a 2 week stretch, like day after day after day, or we don't hear from him for an extended period of time, or what's worse.
I think that's actually a very good question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tough year for my man Kanye, though.
I think
But I got to mentalize. That's still sick.
yeah, I'm with you that he is definitely one of the people who lost in 2022.
Yeah, tough year
But
for my man Yeezy.
um, for me, I have two here. So MCU fans who are now when we say MCU for me is MCU fans who are solely in for the larger story. But you know what? Long haul, the people who like the little side stories and stuff like that, they may actually end up being the biggest losers after
Hmm.
2022 because you're not going to get. I don't think you're going to get some of that stuff, or maybe as much of that stuff. And also, looking at characters too, because for some reason this is one of the things that popped into my head. Galadriel in Rings of Power. Spoiler for those who haven't watched it. She basically brings Sauron back from like, where he was like, I'm just gonna give up, like it didn't work out and
Hmm.
everything, and I'm leaving. and she pretty much she was trying to kill him the whole time, and he hid in plain sight, and she brought him back. It was an amazing twist. I one of my favorite twists of all time. But like, she was an awesome character, but man, she was a huge fucking loser at the end of the year because it's like, wait, what?
That seems like a tough name to pronounce. One more time for me.
Galadriel?
Galadriel. Okay,
Did I
I was
slur
gonna
my
say
words?
Galad. No, no, I don't know. I'm just looking at it and I was like, how would I even begin to pronounce it?
Oh,
Galadriel.
Galadriel. Yes, that
I was
is
gonna say Galadriel. Galadriel. I guess that's not too
Gumdrop.
far off.
Banana. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Who won that 2022?
uh I I don't think it's undeniable. Like, when you look at objectively, if one person or property or group of people won MCU, I mean, one 2022. Wow, that's weird. Yeah, I'm a little drunk. Is James Cameron. There's no question about it. I
mm,
mean, he hand
yes.
over fist, they are rolling in the dough, and he called his shot, and he freaking, I mean, he did. He came through. He like absolutely knocked it out of the park. Awesome
Now I'm
movie.
not sure if he's rolling in the dough just yet. I think the number that I saw over the weekend was 1.35 billion is what it needs to make to either be profitable or break even. I'm not sure. But
Okay.
it's like right there if it's not there yet, but it's right on the
Okay.
cusp of hitting that mark.
Okay. So there.
So it's
So
about to reel in the dough.
yeah, but I mean, really
Yeah,
quickly
no,
too.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like in 2 week time, that's pretty quick.
That's, dude, insane. What was it? They crossed the $1 billion mark after, what was it, 10 days?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I
That's
think it
just
needed to be the 10th or 12th highest grossing movie of all time to like make its money back.
absolutely batshit. And look, they're like,
Yeah.
when we talk about the best actors and actresses of the year too, like, those are some winners, of course, too, to consider in this. But I think that Tom Cruise, big win for him too, because as much as he's still done action stuff over the years, he went and took a property that he hasn't touched in years and enhanced it so much. And of course, there's a lot of other people doing stuff in the course of that movie in Top Gun Maverick, but I mean, still, like, for him to be the centerpiece of it all, and he absolutely crushed it again in that role.
I'm with you 100% on these. I don't think there are any two better nominees here. So I think either one you can't go wrong with. You have the cock of the walk, James Cameron there, just peacocking around all year long. And Tom Cruise, who, say what you will about that guy, but he's also kind of gotten this little like career renaissance where he went from being like crazy Scientologist to kind of being like, nah, he's a cool actor again.
Yep, yep.
He had like this kind of like weird perception for a while.
I was thinking about this with somebody else recently, and I can't recall who it was, but it's just interesting how sometimes people, like, there are certain individuals who, like, when they have a weird thing happen, it might have been Aaron Rodgers, where like people were like hating on him. And look,
Mm-hmm.
I know Aaron Rodgers has fallen off a cliff in terms of performance level and stuff, but like, there's a difference between falling off a cliff from a talent standpoint and the criticism he was receiving before, and he just went right through it. And Tom Cruise, with different stuff,
Yeah.
has pretty much done the same thing.
Yeah, he just didn't care. He was just going to be me. In fact, that's a great piece of advice. I think that's how you go through it. You just go through the fire.
Mm.
You
Yep.
have to just walk over the coals. You can't stand on the coals because then you're just going to continue to burn your feet. But you just got to continue. You just got to keep going. Walk on through it.
Baptism by fire.
Absolutely. Absolutely there. So I'm with you. What was the best movie that we watched or reviewed this year, Nick? I'm going to throw out two because you have a couple other mentions that I liked here. So I have The Northman and Avatar 2.
So,
But I'm going with The Northman because I can't pick Avatar 2.
okay, and see, that's my thing too. Like, I have Avatar 2 on my radar, and I think Avatar 2 and Top Gun are my 2, 3 right now. But I could easily like say Avatar 2 is the best movie of the year, but we just talked about it. And it's so hard for me to go there. In the end, I'm kind of just leaning on my grading here and where I put things. I didn't drop the Batman down at all. It's a 96 at the end of it. One of my favorite comic book movies of all time. I love, we talk about winners of the year too. Robert Pattinson did cross my mind where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how's he going to do as Batman? No one asked about the Bruce Wayne stuff, and I understand people had issues with his Bruce Wayne, but no one asked about those questions. He fucking killed it as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And in
Mm-hmm.
general, I still love this movie. I think it is immensely rewatchable. Obviously, as much as it is long, I thought from a comic book movie standpoint too, they basically they treated this like a comic book arc, which is like 5 to 6 issue standard, sometimes a little shorter, usually not longer. And they basically did that in the course of this movie, where it was like 6 or 5 stories, and I really enjoyed that portion of things. So the Batman is my favorite movie this year.
Yeah, it's the Northman and Top Gun. Those are my two choices, which is interesting enough because I think over the last few years it's been Marvel superhero dominant, and I'm not
Yeah,
sure that definitely didn't happen for me this year. So
sure.
it didn't happen for you, right? I mean, Batman was on there, but from a Marvel standpoint.
No, yeah,
Um,
no, yeah, definitely not.
what was the best show we watched or reviewed this year, Nick? I'll give you a couple of mine. The Terminal List, again, that's recency bias, but I think that was pretty well, acclaimed by the public there. Barry season 3, I'm a big fan of Bill Hader and that kind of dramedy, melodrama, murder mystery type thing. And then The Rehearsal. So 3 different things, but Nick, your choice is my choice
So,
because
yeah,
there's no show real quick is that we talk about like in Marvel or in DC about being able to being disappointed because they plug in their agenda, right? The showrunners, the writers, you kind of know the message that they're sending and they plug it right, shove it down your throat whether you like it or not. That was my critique with She-Hulk, for example. You kind of see the politics of the writers and the showrunners come through clearly. Now, not to say The Boys doesn't do that, but they do it in a way that's palatable on both sides. And the rest of the stuff is so good that you don't really care that they're still putting that in there. So they are the gold standard right now
mhm.
for how you execute a culturally relevant superhero show.
I think that I agree with you. Like and being able to do that when it, like you said, where like you just don't, in certain times you don't notice it or you don't think about it through that lens, is so important from a storytelling aspect.
Hmm.
You can't do it again, whether it's whatever side you're coming from. I'm not saying you can't do that with certain properties, but or certain stories, whatever. But like when you're talking about being like something that can reach everybody, you got to be able to do it where it just does. It doesn't. It doesn't feel like anything's being preached in that sense. So yeah,
Hmm.
for me,
Right.
it's that The Boys is like, it was earlier in the year, so there are certain things that like I think of more recently. Again, Wednesdays is one that's in the conversation for me. But The Boys has done it for 3 seasons and absolutely kicked ass each season. I
Hmm.
have to go with it. The Stand was a great one for me too. Didn't know how they were going to do with that on Netflix at first, and I loved everything about it. And again, talking about my vibe and everything, Wednesday and Sandman, both dark, nasty, a little bit like a gothic-y in ways. I really like that. And they get that in both of these shows here. Stranger Things also is along those lines too, and Eddie kind of brings it in with the metal.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that was of the shows we reviewed. That's my number two, but it's probably The Boys, Wednesday, Sandman, Stranger Things for my four shows that I watched from this year. But I mean, looking at our list too, like we didn't have a tough time coming up with these shows. Like whereas with the best movie of the year, just kind of going into what you
Right.
said before, it's it was the year of TV for sure.
Yeah, and I think for what we do, it's like, all right, what from the let's go check the MCU. What did I like from that? Nothing, nothing, nothing that would really stand out. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, then you have to go in the Top Gun, the Northman, and some other stuff like that. So again, a little bit of a different year from here, but
Yeah.
good nonetheless. And I think that's
No,
it. I think
no,
we
yeah.
hammered it.
Yeah, I think we did. Let's turn into the Discharge Depot because this is running into one of we're flirting with 2 hours here.
I know
Um,
the train is leaving the station, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I've already mentioned this Glass Onion terminal list on Netflix. That's kind of what I've spent my time doing the last week or so since we've been off. A lot of housework too. Got a lot of little things done around the house. The basement is filled with styrofoam and cardboard boxes from Christmas and baby stuff. So I never want to see that stuff ever again. But I'm going to
of
get more
course.
and more and more of it. And
Yeah.
that's it. That's all I got
Real
for you.
quick, for me, also The Glass Onion. Watch Side Effects. It's a movie that came out in 2013 with Rooney Mara
Mm,
and Jude Law. really, really well done. If you're into psych thrillers, that was really well done. Where the Crawdads Sing. I think if you're looking for something with your significant other to sit down and watch, I think this is a good movie to do that with. And I am
Okay.
almost done with The Witcher Blood Origins. One episode left. This has gotten ripped by critics and the audience, West. At least when you look at IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, I don't quite understand it. I've definitely seen one thing that
Okay.
was an issue. I'm not saying this is a 90 series; it's a mini series, but like to get ripped in like the 30s and 40s, like I'm seeing, I don't quite get that. So
All
whatever.
right.
But anyways, let's move over to the DSG topics. What's going on this week in the DSG? Hashtag Dork is previewing, as they do, the 2023 movies, all the movies coming out this year. Mac and Goo, they just did the top 10 most anticipated movies of 2023. So along the
Mm-hmm.
same lines, PCP, they are continuing their protest on podcasting. We're in round 2 of that. TLDR, as I mentioned earlier, we did our annual recently already, but we we are doing our January solicit this week. I've heard it both ways. They're doing season 5, episode 9 of Psych, and then the streamers you can find Shime at Shime Time on Twitch. Doc is at Backcracker on Twitch, and then Davey and Keith. I'm sorry, yeah, Davey and Keith do they're streaming on the hashtag Dork YouTube page,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it, Wes.
Yeah, and I think for next week, I got this idea. Maybe it's not original considering what we just read from Akagoo and Dork here, but we have to put together our master schedule plan for 2023. So I think we petition what we want to review for next year. So we can kind of do like a live stream. We'll throw up the Google Sheets. We have
Mhm.
some of the, and we'll kind of fill it in. And if there's something that you really want to do that you want to watch that comes out on a certain date that we have an open slot for, you make your case for it and we can pencil it in or put it in pen maybe. And I'll do the same here. We'll kind of go, it's kind of like a
Oh,
mixture of a preview for 2023
yes.
and then like an original versus sequel type of thing.
Yes, because now it's going to be like there's certain like the Sandman is something that we didn't review this past year, and I don't know if it's going to be another season of it this next year. But like, I really like that show and would have loved to talk about
Hmm.
it at length. Now, if we have a second season, I have to make the case for that on here, and this is
Yes.
where maybe we have to set some like vetoes and like how many things we can propose, set some ground rules
Yeah,
for this.
absolutely. I love that. I think that's a great idea. And
Look at
then what if
this.
we have something like a movie comes out the same week, two movies come out the same week, and
Ooh,
we're like,
yep,
which one do we review? That
yep.
sort of thing. So,
I
I think
love
that
it.
could be fun. It kind of leads a little bit of debate, a little bit of contentiousness, and starts off the new year right. So I think that'll be fun.
Yes. So until next week, then.
Yeah, same bat time, same bat place, but new year.
Ooh.
Hmm?